All right, here with Freestyle head coach Bill Zadick. Last day of camp here. What have you seen from the Olympic team so far?
Yeah, they look great. Everybody looks sharp. We're getting very close to the games, and so everybody's excited. Energy's good.
Yeah, just looking at the collection of talent here and the six athletes that you're coaching, man. It feels like we say this every year, but it feels like one of the best collections of talent, best wrestlers that we've ever assembled. As you make that assessment, what is your perspective on that?
Yeah, I agree. I think it speaks to USA Wrestling's depth, our grassroots pipeline, the work that all of our collegiate programs and RTCs are doing. You've seen consistent performance on our age group levels all the way up through, and so that bodes very well for our future. And so it's important, and obviously my roots are in the developmental role and in that position, and so I understand the significance and importance, and so it's exciting to see that. It's exciting to see when we get to our trials, you can look at the brackets and you're like, man, it's each one of these weights has a lot of depth, and so whoever comes through, we're going to feel very good about that person, because regardless of what name it is, they've tested themselves through a quality field, and they're going to be really prepared, and then we have the benefit to really focus in on the games.
What's the process like for you getting to know some of these guys? Obviously, someone like Kyle Dake, Zane Rutherford, they've been on the team since 17 and 18. First senior world team for Spencer Lee and Aaron Brooks. How do you go about figuring out what makes those guys tick and how to work best with them?
Yeah, well, they haven't been on the senior side, but as I said earlier, I was a national developmental coach. I had Spencer on cadet teams, 11 years ago. I believe his first team in 2013 in Zrenjanin, Serbia. Aaron Brooks was on cadet teams. He was on junior teams. He lived here as an EAP resident. And so, and then you follow these guys' careers through college and through the age group levels. And so, you learn what makes them tick, and they're continuing to advance and grow their skills in working with their personal coaches, who, of course, have done great jobs continuing to mentor those kids. And so it's years of continuity that help.
Yeah. For your process, obviously you're the coach of the team, but also on the scouting strategic side, how much time are you spending or like watching film on the potential competitors? Is that something that's more left to the individual coaches or more collaborative?
Yeah, we talk about it. It's important stuff. I mean, obviously you get to the Olympic Games and with the advances in modern technology, everybody pretty much knows everybody. And so, but it's an important piece for us.
Yeah. Is that something that you enjoy digging in and watching all the the wrestlers' potential competition?
Yeah, I mean, to a certain degree. I mean, I love, I think the most rewarding part of the sport is the relationships you develop, the connection with your guys, and you see their level of commitment, so you want to see them succeed, and I do my best to give them what I can.
Yeah, big shakeup with the news about Russia. They had the initial blow that the multiple Olympic champions out. Now Russia said, hey, we're not coming. Just your thoughts, as they're our top competition in men's freestyle.
It's unfortunate they chose to go that way. I mean, obviously, I think anybody that represents Russia is going to be prepared and is going to be a formidable competitor. But, try not to get caught up too much in who it is. It's just, like I said, these guys put a lot into it. Their families put a lot into it. Their personal coaches and RTCs. And so you want to see them realize their goals and dreams that they've laid out for themselves. And so that's kind of try to stay focused on that, and not ride the roller coaster of the drama. We don't often determine who steps in front of us. Just go out there and do our job when the whistle blows.
Yeah, want to talk a little about just some of the individuals. Spencer Lee, what he did to not only make the team but qualify the way. What do you see in Spencer, and what makes him such a dangerous opponent for anyone in the world?
Yeah, well, I think we've been watching Spencer for several years, and he's done a great job on the age group level and then through his college career. just an amazing competitor and exciting. And he certainly displayed that at the Olympic trials and then at the last chance qualifier, world qualifier. So yeah, he brings a lot of, as all of them, they bring a lot of knowledge, unique styles, each one of them, and excitement to see, you know, what really is possible. And yeah, I'm very excited for Spencer.
Yeah, at 65, a similar situation with Zane Rutherford. The situation he was in to qualify that way, it was just kind of unbelievable circumstances. How confident were you that Zane would be able to run a gauntlet like that?
Yeah, you know, I think, I mean, we know how hard that is, right? You got to go to, you win the Olympic trials, and then you have to, 3 weeks later, you got to make scratch weight again. You got to do it in a foreign country. You got to travel, you know, 20 hours of travel to be 6 or 8 hours away from home. And then go through murderer's row as far as the field goes, because we know that world qualifier is a very deep competition, right? You know, 30 plus athletes in brackets, and so we know it's a tall task. But coming out of our trials, I think, man, we feel like we have the right people.
Yeah.
These guys really showed what they're capable of, and then they reproved that, if you will, at the world qualifier, qualifying the weights, and I think it just developed a ton of momentum for them and excitement. They both wrestled extremely well at those events and have looked really good, you know, since then till now. Excited for those guys.
How surprised were you to see how well Zane responded off the scale? That's the big question. He's a 70-kilogram world champ. He looked every bit of it.
Yeah.
Now he's down at 65. Seemed seamless.
I think that just speaks to Zane's dedication. He's got a great team around him with his RTC and the personal coaches, you know, Cody Sanderson and the rest of the team. They do a great job. It's obvious, you know, you see it in our college program, you see it with our freestyle guys. And Zane is just, he's a dedicated kid. He loves what he does. He's focused, he's disciplined, and he takes care of business, and it shows when he performs.
Yeah. One thing I always hear about Kyle Dake from people who've been around him, and specifically people who have watched him train, is like, there's no one really like him in the room. Have you been able to observe that? Is there something that, what is it that's so special when you're watching this guy train?
Yeah, you know, the thing that's similar is they're all their own man, but they are all unique also. Kyle is a very smart, intelligent athlete. He's a great athlete, but he's a smart person, smart human being, and he's very curious. He likes to figure things out. And so I think that's kind of the things that I see in him. He's a fun guy to be around. He's got a great family. He's obviously a great competitor on the mat, and he's done some unique things in his life. And he will continue to do unique things in his life.
Yeah.
So.
And then Aaron Brooks makes the team. He goes through David Taylor, runs the gauntlet. How surprised were you to see that? And you know, your thoughts on Aaron as a first-year senior world guy on the Olympic team?
Yeah, you know, a little shake-up. I mean, you typically think that the guy that's been there is the guy, but you knew Aaron Brooks was very good, and you knew he was nipping at the heels. You've seen it in his international performance, in his college performance, and you know, coming up through as a junior and U23 world champion, and a four-time NCAA champ. So, you know, I've just been around the sport a long time, and I don't think anything really shocks me anymore. Yeah. Might be interesting outcome, but Aaron's just done a great job. He's done a great job for himself. He's wrestled it really well. You know, made the team and beat the reigning world and Olympic champion, maybe one of the best ever.
Yeah.
And so he's got a ton of momentum and should be excited. I think he probably, you know, makes the rest of the world a little bit nervous till they get their hands on him and see what he's really about.
Yeah, I feel similarly. A lot was made of the process for what he had to go through to make the team. He was wrestling really late. He had to cut weight, make weight at 7 a.m. He was cut until, you know, wee hours in the morning. As the head coach, is that something where you can take a look at that and say, hey, maybe we need to have a little more athlete-friendly schedule, especially for the guys running through the challenge tournament?
Yeah, we always are analyzing our process. I mean, when our team has success, that somewhat edifies your process. But you got to be innovative, and there's changing climate in our sport in a lot of ways, and so you have to be on the front edge of that, and really keep in mind what the athlete is going through, and how do you refine the process that both incentivizes the outcomes that you want, but also gives them the best opportunity for that.
Yeah. Is there ever, and apologies, this is not really a question that you can answer, but is there a scenario where you could have like the challenge tournament sort of separate, almost like how we do World Team Trials, and then have a Final X? That way there's maximum rest time and no one has to go through the gauntlet, even though we've seen it can be done.
We've had that in the past, and you know, there's a lot of people that have input in that process. You know, Olympic Games process is a little different because it's not our event. The IOC or the USOPC actually owns the event property, and we are contracted to administer on their behalf. So it just adds another level of dynamics to it. But yeah, I mean, you can build it however you know. But when you start adding more and more input sources, it gets complex. But ultimately, it's about the athletes and how do you have a process that's open-ended to allow people to identify themselves?
Yeah.
And then also incentivize the behaviors, characteristics that you want in your team.
Yeah, I think the perspective is like there's such a huge advantage that you get to sit out as is. Just that you're already in the finals is advantage enough, and that running through the challenge tournament in conjunction with the same day having to compete against that person is maybe the deck is a little too stacked or disadvantageous.
Yeah, I mean, it's this age-old question. It's been asked and answered a lot of times.
Yeah.
You can do it however, you know. Right now I'm in a position that I'm part of that process, not the only part of that process. I would say the team's performance in recent years is probably evidence that it's working to a degree. Could it be better? Always can be better, and we're always looking for those opportunities.
Yeah. Kyle Snyder, just as steady as can be for years, 2015. How much of a privilege is it just to say you coach someone like Kyle Snyder?
Yeah, all these guys, you know, Kyle exemplifies that he's just a great guy, great human being, pretty good wrestler too.
Yeah.
And loves what he does, and that's contagious because of his energy and his attitude. It elevates the room. It elevates his teammates. It elevates me and our coaching staff and Joe Russell and Kyle's. That's something that's been one of his hallmarks since I got to know him when he was 16. When he moved out here when he was a 17-year-old kid, is he had this attitude, and now he's added a lot of knowledge and experience and wisdom to that, and he just continues to get better. And he's a great leader for our program. He's a great cog in the machine, but he's a great example for the next generation. He's somebody that I want my own kids to look like and act like.
Yeah, totally agree with that. Then Mason Paris had a great debut last year. Bringing home a bronze medal was just a situation away, really, from making the World Finals. What have you seen? And when I talked to Mason, he's like, man, I'm so much better from a year ago. I've made so many adjustments. Have you seen that as well?
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think he's a lot better. Again, a smart kid, engineering student, so that's evidence of that. But he just continues to improve. I think he's showed some significant improvement, in the 8 months or so between the World Championships and the Olympic trials, and then, went to the ranking event and performed really well with a deep field. And I think springboarded from that, and excited to get into the games in Paris, and I'm excited for it.
Yeah. Well, that's everyone on the team, Coach. Do you have any other thoughts? I don't know if I'll see you again before Paris.
Yeah, just excited to watch the Americans go do their thing and appreciate what you're doing for our sport.
Yeah, thanks so much, Coach. See you there.
Thank you.